Hi, today I want to break down the first 5 rudiments that I teach my students, and by breakdown I mean that quite literally. We're going to break these down in the traditional rudimental style, and that is going to bring your chops to a new level. It's going to teach you better stick control, it's going to help your coordination, it's going to develop all of the physical things that we need to develop to have good chops, stronger and faster, and the list goes on and on with the way we train today. So if you're a drummer that wants to develop your chops so that they aren't holding you back anymore, stick around and check out this video. But first, take a second and subscribe if you're enjoying these videos and finding them helpful, and drop a comment in the comment section to let me know what you might want to learn or what you're curious about when it comes to rudimental drumming, and I will be able to make videos that serve you better. All right, and that's my goal. Grab your sticks and your pads if you want to try to play along a little bit, but let's jump in. Today, first 5 rudiments. First and foremost, the single stroke roll. This is just alternating back and forth, and the way we approach it is important. You're going to start with your sticks up together, making a point, making a triangle, and you're going to drop your hand down and bring it right back up. This is our home base. Okay, here we go. We're just going to alternate our hands back and forth. And this is a single stroke roll. Your speeds may vary depending on what level you're at, but the important part for this first step of our training is that you have a home base that's up high and our sticks are always returning. That's going to train that wrist stroke to be strong and confident, and we want to exaggerate our range of motions so we have a full range of motion. As you get faster, that range of motion is going to come a little bit lower, it's going to become smaller, the sticks will be closer to the pad. All right. Also, single stroke roll. So that's how I really approach it from the beginning. Now, we talked about traditional breakdowns. What does that mean? What do we do? This is how it works. When we learn our rudiments in the traditional style of training, our rudiments would all start slow, and they would slowly progress and speed up and get faster until they hit your maximum speed. And I don't mean to the point where you're falling apart and you're tensing your shoulders and you're gripping the sticks really tight to muscle it out. That's not your fastest speed. Your fastest speed doesn't go beyond your best sound. So you want to have a good sound to start, and you want to keep that sound high quality all the way through to your fastest ability to play at that high quality, and then you bring it back down and you slow it down slowly. Okay? This is going to help your tempo control, your ability to play at different tempos. Sometimes you're playing with a band and they call out a song that's at just an odd tempo, and you find yourself kind of rushing to a tempo that's comfortable because you spent more time on that tempo than a different tempo. That's a very real thing that we struggle with as drummers. Sometimes I know I have in the past. But training this way, where we're flowing from a slow tempo to a fast tempo and then flowing back down with no skips in between, it really helps give you control of that tempo ability to lock in. All right, tempo ability to lock in. I don't know if that's a legitimate term, but we're going to use it. All right, so this is what it would look like if we were doing a more traditional approach to teaching our single stroke roll. Here we go. You'll notice it's coming up to our home base. It's just a little bit higher because we're going slower. And then as you speed up, those sticks are going to come back together. Think about a train taking off from the tracks, slowly getting faster. Everything's going to stay relaxed. Trying to match your stick heights with every lift. you start slowing down a little bit. As you slow down, that lift is always going as high as you can physically get it comfortably for each new speed you get to. And yeah, they're coming up pretty high. Okay, sticks are pretty high, right? I bet a lot of us haven't trained with our sticks this high before. And if you play matched grip, you're just doing this. Both hands are the same as the right, okay? That's totally cool. You don't have to play traditional grip to play these traditional breakdowns. So, why this high? Why are our sticks this high? We want to activate these arms. We want them to be involved in our sound. If we can learn to drop our arms comfortably, naturally, that's a good way to generate power when we're looking for accents. If we can learn how to incorporate the weight of our arm, okay? So that slow development gets that arm happening. It exaggerates the range of motion of the arm to some degree, but that exaggeration is what helps us train it faster. So it's important to do it that way. The next rudiment, number 2, that I teach my students is usually a double stroke roll. All right, you might be thinking to yourself, whoa, the second thing you teach your students is how to roll? That's crazy. And so a little caveat, there are some stages of roll development that would happen before we get to the double stroke roll, before we start doing a legitimate double stroke roll. There are some developmental stages that we're not going to talk about here. That's going to be a whole separate video. We can spend a long time just on that. So if you're still learning how to roll, this one's not for you yet, and that's okay. But you can start here. Again, sticks are up high. You're going to do 2 hits per hand, and this is where you're going to start. All right. As you speed that up, we're not going to put any numbers on it. We're not going to talk about 5s, 7s, 9s, 6s, 15s. We're not worrying about what kind of roll it is. I just want your hands moving and thinking about bouncing those sticks, okay? Once that's happening, the way we do this traditionally is just like the single stroke roll. So we're starting up high, we're getting those arms activated. We're going to drop the left hand first, okay? And when we do that, we're going to hit the sticks, hit the pads twice. Hopefully you're not hitting your sticks. Hit your stick on the pad 2 times. That's the start of your double stroke roll. And then the right hand would go. Notice I'm letting that stick rebound up naturally. I'm moving with the flow of the stick. I'm not keeping it down. I want you to have some lift between hits. So up and up. All right, and again, train taking off from the tracks. Nice and slowly build it. Always getting a nice high lift when you switch hands. Now we're slowly going to transition from using our wrists to bouncing the sticks. And I want you to do it smoothly as you can. And then as you slow down, lift is coming back up again. And then end with your left. So that's a traditional breakdown of a double stroke roll, often referred to as a long roll. That is going to just take your chops to a different level. If you've never done anything like that before, the amount of control that it teaches you to go from that slow wrist strokes and transition into wrist strokes into double strokes smoothly and without hanging in one tempo for too long and making it feel consistent. You learn so much about your true control, about touch, about tone. It's just so important to approach rolling that way, okay? And then we can break down every single roll that way. 5-stroke rolls, 9-stroke rolls, 7-stroke rolls, they can all be broken down slow to fast to slow like that. And just again, it just benefits your chop development so much, okay? Next, flams. All right, so flams, we're gonna set them up one stick down low, one stick up high. You're just gonna drop them. This stick's gonna hit first, obviously, because it's closer to the drum pad. This one's gonna hit second. This one's also gonna be louder because it's higher up. There's more weight dropping into the pad from my arm than this one. So check it out. You'll notice some details here. When I drop my sticks, I'm not, focus on this hand down low, I'm not picking it up and then dropping it. That's a waste of time, and it's a waste of motion, and it's a waste of energy. It will slow you down, and it will create flams that are popped. What does that mean? A flam that's popped. It's like you put it in the microwave and you heat it up and you get that popcorn. It's kind of like that, but it's not. A popped flam is when you hit both sticks so close together that it sounds like one hit and you don't actually get the flam sound, okay? One of my teachers once described this as taking a knife and chopping through a stick of butter. Now, not like a stick of butter that's been out on the counter in the summer and it's sort of like melted, but like a stick of butter that's out in the wintertime and like the house is like 60 degrees, so it's kind of firm, but it's still soft enough that you can chop through it. And you take that knife and you chop it through, and the first note of the flam is the knife hitting the butter. You'll hear it, but it's soft compared to when the knife goes all the way through the butter and smacks the plate on the other side. But the sounds are close together, but you can still hear the separation of those sounds like this. So if you're having trouble dropping your stick from here without picking it up first, then practice just that. Get it nice and low. Just practice some low taps. Okay? Then from there, I want you to practice it going from low to high, because that's what it does. Check it out. This stick is going to go low, then up high. So you can practice that. If it's not happening good, one hand at a time, we'll break it down, okay? So those are some like details on how to really train your flams. And then these can be approached just like the other traditional breakdowns. We're going to start slow. We're going to alternate and slowly speed it up. Again, your hands are up high. We're getting the arm involved, okay? And doing this also, it connects the arm to the wrist, because when the arm drops down, the wrist has to have a part where that flows too, right? So it's sort of allowing us to avoid doing this like barbaric arm beating of the drums. And if you go slow enough, there's a natural flow to it. Some people would refer to this as molder, but it's not really. We're not there. But it's a relaxation of a whipping sort of motion from the arm. So flams, start with whichever hand you'd like. Set them up one stick low, one stick high, and you're going to drop and switch and then speed them up slowly. That's a breakdown, traditional. Again, all the things that we get benefits from that I talked about with the double stroke roll, they all happen when we break down a flam that way too. All right. The next one that I would show my students is a drag. So they've already started working some double stroke training. That's the first step. We'll talk about that in another video. We'll do a whole video breakdown of how to double bounce your sticks and the progressions I would do to train you to do that. Right? So if you need that, check that video out when I make it. It's not made yet, but it will be soon. So a drag is the same as a flam, except this low note down here, instead of a single tap, is going to be a double bounce. That's the only change. Everything else stays the same. I also don't want you to do this. Just like a flam, all the technique stays the same. If you want to start with this stick a little higher, so instead of here, you're here, that's okay when you're starting. But I don't want you to do the lift part. So start at the height you want that to drop from. And then you slowly speed up, just like the flam breakdown. Whoops. All right, so that's another thing it teaches you. I mean, your accuracy, mine wasn't so great that time. You're going to have days like that. That's okay. You're also going to have days when you do this sort of training where your maximum speed might not be there one day or another day. You might be super sore from maybe you work a construction job and you came home and your hands are just tired that day. Or maybe you're just early. You got an early morning practice session and you're just not there yet. Whatever the case may be, there's going to be days where your maximum speed is going to fluctuate when you do these breakdowns. And that's okay too. I think of it as part of the training, part of the maturity you bring your drum training, is you have to know, I can't go that fast today because I feel like it's going to fall apart. My sound quality is going to suffer if I push it any farther, so I'm going to stop. Take the mature training approach. That's my maximum tempo. I'm going to hold it there a little bit, and then I'm going to slow it back down. And that's okay. That is a smart way to train these rudiments, okay? The last one, and probably the more important one, and probably the one that people would show you first most of the time, is the paradiddle, all right? So of these 5, is there a specific order? Honestly, I do single stroke, long roll, flam, and paradiddle on the first lesson. Once flams are happening, then we introduce the drag. Once double strokes are happening, then we introduce the drag, okay? And I'm showing you the ready to go versions. Some students need to go back a step from where I started with these today and get a little extra introduction into how to do these things, and that's okay. And again, if you want to know, type it in the comments and I'll show you, I'll make you a video on how we do those progressions to get up to where I started today, all right? So just let me know. The last one, paradiddles. Here we go, we're setting it up. A paradiddle is a combination of 2 single strokes and a double stroke. So it's gonna be right, left, right, right, double at the end. Then the left hand is up and ready to go for the next one. Left, right, left, left. That's a paradiddle. And just like all the others, we're slowly going to speed this up. Again, think train coming off the tracks. For this one, we're prepping the accent. So the accent hand comes up. Everything else stays low. All right, cool. So this hand is up because it's going to be the next accent. And we're going to utilize the weight of the arm to drop it into the pad to create that accent. If we do that, I'm not using any muscle. It's just gravity, right? My arm probably weighs about 5 pounds. Could you imagine holding a 5-pound weight above your snare drum and dropping it? It could be devastating. It could blow through your whole drum. It could just shatter the heads everywhere. And that's kind of what we want to utilize, is that weight of the arm to put our energy into the stick to create an accent that I don't need to use muscle. I don't need to use velocity where I'm whipping with my wrist, because then you get a thin, like high overtone sound that I'm not a big fan of. So use the weight of the arm to drop it into the pad. And then it comes up and it preps while this hand's still jamming. Check this out. One hand is doing something totally different. This helps build your coordination even greater, even better. Do you ever notice that on drums you can maybe do paradiddles on a snare drum? And then you want to move around the whole drum set, so you start moving your hands to different tom-toms for the accents, right? If you haven't done that, try that. All right, maybe we'll make a whole drum set video of how to apply rudiments. Tell me in the comments if you want that. If not, I won't do it. This is all for you, all right? So this will just open up doors for you. This sort of training from slow to fast to slow. It will get your arms involved in your playing so you can play powerfully but relaxed. It'll get transitions to be smooth from arm strokes to wrist strokes to finger control and double strokes. All of that happening smoothly, which means you can play at any tempo, anytime. You can play with a band that wants to speed up slowly, and you're gonna rock that too. So this really adds tons of flexibility to your playing. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more of this traditional style of breaking things down. We can definitely dive deeper. But for today, I hope that's helpful. I hope that introduces you a little bit to the first 5 rudiments that I teach my students when I teach them rudiments. And let me know in the comments what you want to see, what kind of questions you have, and subscribe if you're liking these videos, because that will help me make more videos for you. All right? Have a great day. Keep drumming. See you later.